Hi, welcome to the Military Wallet Podcast. I am your host, Ryan Guina. I am joined today by Chad Armstrong, founder of ACE Veteran Consulting and a retired senior non-commissioned officer who served in the Georgia Army National Guard as an AGR infantryman with deployments to both Iraq and Afghanistan. After navigating his own challenging transition from military service, Chad founded ACE Veteran Consulting to help service members and veterans better understand their VA benefits, disability claims, retirement decisions, education benefits, and all the other resources they've earned. Through his work, he's made it his mission to simplify the often complicated VA system and help veterans make informed decisions about their future. Chad, so great to see you. Welcome to the show.
It's good to see you again, Ryan. I love this. This is good stuff. I love this.
Yeah, thanks. So this is, I guess, your second time on the show. We had you over in Missouri not too long ago. I guess it was, almost a year now, I guess. I think it was last summer.
Yeah, it
Awesome.
was. It was a great trip. I loved it.
Yeah, so much fun. So I learned so much from you there, and I hope that our audience did as well. So today we're happy to have you back. We want to talk a little bit about just a few quick Q&A questions. We're going to jump in and look at some common VA claims and appeals questions that we've got. So I'm going to jump right in, start with our first question from Robert S. Here it is. I just started my VA disability claim process. My local VSO, Veteran Service Officer, helped me submit an intent to file with the VA and told me I could file a standard claim or a fully developed claim, which is better. So could you walk us through what the difference is between a fully developed claim and a standard claim? Does one have advantages over the other, and when might somebody use one path or the other?
So I will lead off with one's not universally better than the other. It's always it depends. That's why I always encourage people to make sure that you're filing with someone that's educated, that knows the filing process. So like this person used a VSO, so good on you, Robert. So they should know the process. With a fully developed claim or an FDC, what that part of the claim is it's saying, hey, I have all my evidence already. I want you to take what I have, do your due process, your DTA, your duty to assist, go grab any other records that you need to do, but I'm ready for you to look at this. Whereas a standard claim is it goes through the process and they're going to pull everything possible. Now, what I will say is this process, maybe 2 years ago, there was a substantial difference in the two. And I've worked with these and filed a few of these lately and 2, 4, 5 years ago. With the FTC back in the day, so about 2 years ago, before they started cutting down this mass backlog of claims, there was a month or two of difference in filing an FDC or a standard claim. Now that has shrunk because how fast the VA is processing everything and how small the backlog has shrunk, and it's almost down to like a week and a half. So when deciding which one to use, if you have your full packet, you have all your lay statements, your medical evidence, Nexus, DBQs, you have all that and you're ready to submit it and you're prepared to submit it all at the same time, that's very important. Go ahead, do a fully developed claim. What will happen is if you do file it, during that process of them reviewing it, they find that you need more information, they're going to send you out a notice, but they're going to automatically slot it down into a standard claim. So you've got nothing to lose to start it off as a fully developed claim. I tell clients that if you want to save 3 or 4 days because you're not sure, go ahead and file it as a standard claim. That's what will happen. Yeah. So then the VA's own website's reporting 82 days for FDCs right now, 76 days for non-FDCs. So I mean, it's very small now. 2 years ago, big difference, almost a month or two.
Gotcha. So it sounds like you can just dive in and do that if you believe you have everything. But if you're not sure, a standard claim isn't going to set you back that much.
No, not very much. You won't make a vital mistake filing one or the other.
Well, good. Well, thanks for that information. Our next question comes from Alan M. I was just scheduled for my first C&P exam. What should I expect? Do I need to bring anything with me? So this is the mysterious compensation and pension, or C&P exam. Lots of misinformation or lack of information out there. Can you walk us through this process? What should I expect if I just get my letter from the VA saying, hey, you've got this scheduled? What should I expect?
The first thing to expect is this is in a very small apartment building and it's in an urgent care. That's pretty normal. So the VA normally does not do C&P exams. If you're in a smaller state, like say Indiana, you may actually go to a VA hospital. Whereas you're in Georgia, which is a veteran heavy state, you're going to get sent out to a third party vendor, somebody like LSGS, QTCV, VES, LHI. Then you're going to go to places like that. They're approved or third party vendors. The people there are usually going to be nurse practitioners or doctors, but they're certified through the process to be examiners. So they're more than qualified to do your Nexus and your DBQs. That is the first thing. So don't be weirded out if you end up in like some urgent care in Buckhead, Georgia. It'll happen. The next thing you need to understand is that this is not your general doctor's exam. You're not going there to really shoot the crap with your doctor. What you're really doing is presenting your case and your current day symptoms. So you're not there for treatment. It's for an evaluation of the current day symptoms that you have. Okay. With that being said, you need to make sure that when you're in there, you're describing your worst day unmedicated symptoms. It can't be how you are that day. And you need to describe to the examiner with detail of like what your day-to-day life is like with this disability, of how these disabilities are impacting your functions and how you're unable to either work or do personal stuff like go to parties, pick up your children, things like that. That's really what these exams are for. You don't need to prove that you're tough there. So a lot of veterans, what they will do is walk in there and be like, oh, it's not so bad. Right. So this goes back to the explaining your worst day unmedicated symptoms. Whereas, even myself, when I went to an exam, I had just had a slap tear and I was in a sling. But because the army was still in my head, like I can't be a wimp. I was doing this in a sling, and I mean, literally 3 days out of a bicep shoulder surgery, and I was trying to show them I could move my arm. Right. so if this is not the place to prove you're tough. This is actually the place to finally like let people know, hey, I hurt. Like things are not good. I need to talk to someone about it. If you don't want your spouse seeing that, then kick them out of the room. But this is the place to do it.
Yeah, it's okay to not be okay, right? And that's something that I think a lot of military veterans and active service members kind of struggle with because we have to put on that strong facade and be that leader or that person who has to tough it out. So definitely. So is there anything else when we're going through that process? Do we need to bring anything with us, or is this just show up and tell the truth, tell it like it is?
Showed up, showing the truth is very important, mainly because a lot of these C&P examiners now, we don't know if they've done it for 6 months or 6 years. You will get a notification letter actually telling you their background. A lot of these examiners have been doing it for a while. They can kind of see if you're BSing. So that, like, don't show up with a fake injury or fake symptoms. They're going to kind of just know you're doing it. They're going to know you're going through the process. They've already pulled your service troop records. They'll see a history there. If you've gone in there and you've submitted no records or anything, and you're just like, oh, everything's horrible, they're going to kind of see through that. So you do not lie. It's not the place to do it. It's not worth it. And nobody likes a liar to begin with. The next thing is it would be very important to educate yourself on the conditions that you're going in for through the CFR 38, right? So the regulation that they use to rate you. So if you know like the certain symptoms that you have, so let's say you walk in there, it can't be, ow, my head hurts, right? It's, ow, my head hurts on an average of 3 to 5 times a month. They're long enduring, you're fully prostrating, and they're causing severe economical inadaptability. Layman's terms, that just means like, hey, I really suck at work and I'm not very reliable because of these headaches. Right? That's what they need to hear. And if you go into the regulation, that's black and white for them. So if you know the regulation, you know your symptoms, and you can present it to the examiner like that, you will not only help yourself, you'll help them. Right? They're already trying to navigate through what your symptoms are. And if you're like kind of wishy-washy, it's not going to be a very good outcome. The last thing is take notes. There's nothing saying you can't walk into an exam with notes. I noticed a lot of people just, oh, I didn't take anything with me. I don't know what my exams are for. I don't even remember what claims I filed. I just walked in, right? Because these exams can happen about 2-3 months down the road sometimes, and you've completely forgotten everything that you filed and why you filed it and what your service connection is. And then you get in there and your feet are to the fire and you're freaking out and you forget everything and you have a bad exam, right? And you get no clinical diagnosis because there's no symptoms. So just be prepared. Just know what your DBQ, what the questions that the examiner is going to go over with you. Be closely like familiar with the CFR 38 and your conditions that you're filing, and take notes. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Take notes.
Yeah, I found that under the gun, I often forget things. I have to take notes with me when I go to the grocery store, right? So, here's my shopping list. If I don't do that, or at least take a picture of it on my phone, then I'm likely to forget something, even if it's a small trip. So I love the tip of using the CFR 38. If you're not sure how to look that up, there are a dozen ways you can do this through either Google or use your favorite AI, ChatGPT, Claude, Google's Gemini, whichever one works for you. You can ask it, hey, I have this symptom. Here's what I'm filing for. What are some of the conditions? And then you can use that to take notes. Bring that in there with you because that's what they are looking for is that terminology that's listed in that CFR 38. So thank you for those tips. Got another one for you. This one is from a service member who has been out for several years. He identifies himself as Army vet. I've been out of the military for 7 years and I'm trying to file a VA claim for injuries from a combat deployment. The VA has copies of my military medical records, but they ask for more information. What else do they need? I know this one is a little vague here, but I know that there are some commonalities that you've seen with veterans who are claiming or filing a VA disability claim. So, what other types of evidence would the VA consider, such as you've got your military medical records, private medical records, buddy statements, nexus letters? What evidence carries most weight with the VA and what are they looking for?
Okay, so the big thing is there's no one magic piece of evidence. So that's the biggest thing. Although having it documented in your records is very important, I would say feet to fire, the most important thing to have in order would be service treatment records, right? Either went to sick call or you did it on your separation exams. Private medical records, now that you've been out, showing that you had an issue, but you're also continuing to track it and document it, which is the third most thing that I see get shut down for claims is lack of evidence throughout getting out and to today. A nexus letter, either from your provider or paid providers, lay statements, which is your personal statement, buddy letters, whether from like a spouse, a supervisor, or people that were in your unit. That's very important. And then like an honorable mention, diary entries and trackers. They actually go a lot further than you think, especially like headaches. A lot of people can't track headaches. There's plenty of like My Migraine Buddy Tracker app that'll help you really narrow in your symptoms and everything and show proof of that. That's the big thing. When gathering all this evidence, you do need to remember that there's three things that the VA needs to make a claim stick. That's the most important thing is the first one is you need an event in service that either caused or exacerbated a condition or symptoms of a condition, right? That's you blow your knee out while you're PTing on active duty. That's the event, right? What most veterans leave off is they think I blew my knee out 10 years ago. I deserve a rating today. There needs to be some type of functional loss of that same condition or symptoms of that condition. So the number two thing you need is a current day diagnosis of that same condition. Okay. Very important. You can't blow your knee out 10 years ago and then show up and you're doing jumping jacks in a C&P exam, right? There needs to be some extension, flexion, instability, painful motion. There needs to be some type of functional disability going on with that same area. The third thing you need is a medical opinion linking number one with number two. So a nexus, and for layman's terms, again, nexus just means connection. So you need a nexus letter. Most veterans get locked in on service caused this. They kind of skip the second part where they need to have the current day diagnosis. That's where the clinical diagnosis really gets a lot of people. Those are things you need to keep in mind, those three things when you're tracking down the evidence, right? So the number one, obviously we can't get a claim if we don't have proof that it happened in service or some type of proof of presumptively tying to service. Two, please walk in there with a current day diagnosis of it, whether it's from your provider or you're getting it from that C&P exam. And then they will do the rest on the nexus or the provider will do the nexus. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, no, perfect. I think that's great. I think there are a lot of people out there who have served in the military. They know they have a medical issue. They can personally, in their mind, link it back to that event in their military service. But as you said, they have to have those three things, that in service event, which they know of, but maybe they didn't document how it's impacting them today, or they just don't have that letter that says, yes, this was in fact caused or made worse by their military service. So thank you for clarifying that. I think that will help people, especially when they're just starting their claims. So I have one more for you. This one is a little bit of a kind of a tricky one. It kind of expands a little bit on that last question. This is from Deborah K. I am the wife of a Vietnam vet. I started trying to get benefits for him in 2009. I have 2 sets of his military records. He has been denied Agent Orange twice and PTSD. He was in Vietnam and was on the airfield that loaded the planes with Agent Orange. On his DD 214, he has the Vietnam Service Star, but they do not approve that as, quote, boots on the ground in Vietnam. His records are illegible. Back then, they used microfiche. He is not able to do all of the admin work that needs to be done since he has got back in the States. Can you give me any direction to find proof on the ground, or what else can I do to get his approved benefits? So again, this is a little bit more complicated, but it kind of ties in with that last question. And how can we look at this from the big picture? How can we establish this nexus years or even decades after leaving military service? And what would you recommend for Deborah or for somebody else who is in a similar situation? It could also be tied into like the burn pits, for example, and the poor air quality for our generation of service members.
So this is when I work with clients, this is what I always lead off with, because there's just like this negative outlook on the VA. Like it's out to get us, like it's a big bad monster. And I don't believe that's always the case. And I work with a lot of VA raiders that tell me like, hey, it is a lot easier to approve you than deny you. We want to approve you when there's enough sufficient evidence. And that's what you need to provide to them. So sometimes just having one thing or maybe like half of two things is not enough. You can be creative in things that you can submit as evidence. So you can have personal records, TDI orders, you can have performance evaluations. A lot of times, like your NCOERs or OERs or performance evaluations from back in the day will say literally where you were at. Reports, travel vouchers, award citations, and not just the award itself, but the citation while serving in. Usually there's a place there, right? Like when you get your CIB, you get put on an award list with everybody while serving in, and then everybody's name's on the list. Things like that. The units usually have records, and if the unit's dead, usually there's a historian that can trace it back to where it was at and show that those people were there. If you can show them, look, at 214, you were in that unit during this time, there's a way to show that person was there. Okay, those are creative ways. Buddy letters are extremely important, especially if you have a buddy that has been rated in that area. That surprisingly, right, if they were proven to be there, call that buddy up. Hey, how did you get it? What evidence do you have? Can you write me a buddy letter stating that you were proven to be there and that I was there with you? Pictures. One of the most creative things I ever had, I had a client come to me with a birth certificate.
Okay.
So it was a foreign birth certificate with his name on it. I was like, well, I guess you got to be on the ground to do that. So that kind of makes sense. So that's one creative way. Any more evidence you can give them, the better. The most important thing too is, and with this case, I don't know if she's working with somebody. This is a very complex case. And a lot of these cases where you can't find records, that's when you kind of need to stop, put your hands down, and go work with someone that knows what they're doing. I'm hoping she's working with like a VSO, an accredited official, an accredited company. They will more than likely be able to find other resources that'll have records. Not all records are going to be in the National Archive, especially because there was a section of it that burned down, right? So there's other places you can get foreign awards, things like that. So she doesn't need to quit there, but what she might need to do is just find someone that can help her find the records. Especially if he's having issues with getting admin work himself, he might need to find a representative to help. With the PTSD thing, that alone being in that area, that could be different. That's where the decision letter matters. When I talk to people, the decision letter usually it has the keys to the car, right? And most of it has verbiage in there showing you where the keys are and how to drive this car. That's very important, is pulling that. It's not just about, oh, I got denied for it. It's why did I get denied for it? And can I navigate that challenge? You may have the condition, you just got to prove something else. So decision letter will be doing all that. And then just working with somebody that knows how to case build. A lot of VSOs are good at it. I'm not going to say it's like a all VSO thing. And then a lot of service organizations will be able to do something like that. It's okay to be creative, even if it sounds dumb. Pictures of being there literally next to a building that's very well known in the area would be enough for it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that insight. So there are complicated situations, and we kind of started off building these questions as they came in, And it kind of takes us on an arc from getting started with doing your claim to doing your C&P exam to you've been out of the military for a while. What kind of records do they need? And then how to establish that nexus or connection to your military service when there's been a large gap in service. So, Chad, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with our audience. Look forward to having you back again. We'll tackle some more of these questions. Before you go, where can people find you and learn more about what you do?
aceveteranconsulting.com. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, and probably YouTube everywhere at this point. So I prefer the website, aceveteranconsulting.com. You can reach out to me or any of my staff. We're all pretty responsive, and we do free consultations. So anything you want us to look at, we'll look at it and at least give you advice. Worst case scenario, you get advice.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Chad. And as always, thank you for your service.
Sir, thank you.